Thursday when I'm back, I don't know when you want to do this, job, but we'll get into timeline of everything. So we'll get into
Ooh.
McCarthy's awful relationship with Dak for most of his time here in Dallas. We'll get into Mike being the driving force pushing Amari Cooper out and how much that upset players here in the locker room. We'll get into his paranoia about Dan Quinn being on staff for 3 years. But I look at it and I say that the success they've had on offense and what they're able to do, I trust Dak, Kellen, potentially Doug Nussmeier coming in here if that's the case. I trust the three of them working together, and those are guys that Dak's really comfortable with and feels like he's in sync with.
All I'm going to say is this. We should have expected this. What you're about to see from the Dallas Cowboys and Jerry Jones is a masterclass in PR. They're about to do everything they possibly can to make themselves look as good as possible, coming out on the other end of this Mike McCarthy situation. And now, based off that clip we just listened to, it sounds like some of their dirty laundry is about to get aired, or at least that's what the Cowboys want us to think. Let's get right into this one. The Dallas Cowboys head coaching search is going to be a content gold mine for everyone, because outside of the crazy rumors I've been seeing about some of the potential head coaches, we're going to start getting some interesting stories leaking out from that building. And in this one, we cover a wide range of topics that I just kind of want to touch on before we get more information from Bobby Belt. This was Bobby Belt on 105.3 The Fan, essentially talking to us about some of the tumultuous things that were going on while Mike McCarthy was a part of the Dallas Cowboys organization. And look, if any of this stuff is true as it pertains to Mike McCarthy having an awful relationship with the Dak Prescott, or Mike being the driving force pushing Amari Cooper out, and how much that upset the players in the locker room, or he was walking around paranoid because Dan Quinn was still in the building. If any of this stuff is true, shame on Mike McCarthy. And to be quite frank, man, that dude shouldn't be in anybody else's locker room, because there's just no way I can possibly believe that Mike McCarthy was instrumental in pushing Amari Cooper out of Dallas. So we're going to go through each one of these bullet points step by step. Mike McCarthy's awful relationship with Dak Prescott. Now, we're going to present both sides of the argument. Now, Bobby Belt is saying that there's something to this, that Mike McCarthy and Dak didn't have the best of relationships, and there's a couple of other media members that have kind of echoed that sentiment, even though this season we've seen Dak Prescott go out of his way to show some outward support for Mike McCarthy. Is that Dak Prescott trying to do some damage control? Is that Dak Prescott being aware of what some of the media members may be whispering about, and he's trying to essentially counter those stories before they have a chance to drop? Or was that Dak Prescott just being genuine and voicing his support for his head coach, and these murmurs and whispers coming from the media are a bunch of nothing? To be quite frank, only the parties involved as it pertains to Dak Prescott and Mike McCarthy really know the truth as it pertains to what their relationship was. But from the outside looking in, this was something that I definitely wasn't expecting to come out after Mike McCarthy was gone. It seemed like, at least from where I'm sitting, it seemed like Mike McCarthy and Dak Prescott had, at very minimum, a respectable working relationship, and Dak Prescott even took it a step further and extended himself and tried to essentially get to know Mike McCarthy on a personal level. So this is actually kind of surprising to see this type of report leak out, because it just doesn't line up with what we've seen so far, and this is like nothing that we've actually heard. We haven't heard anybody whispering about this or alluding to this. We just haven't heard this. And as far as I know, from Dak Prescott and Mike McCarthy publicly, both parties have been extremely complimentary of each other as far as what they can do with each other and what they think they can accomplish. Dak has given Mike McCarthy his credit, talked about how he's a Super Bowl winning head coach and he likes what Big Mike has been trying to do, and he thinks he's a great fixture in the locker room. And Mike McCarthy has talked about how he thinks Dak Prescott is the right type of quarterback to win a Super Bowl with. So that's kind of an interesting one for me. Now, Mike being the driving force pushing Amari Cooper out, and how much that upset the players in the locker room. This one is very, very strange to me, because it's been common knowledge, at least for a while, that everyone pretty much accepted the fact that Amari Cooper was pushed out of Dallas because he didn't want to acquiesce to Jerry Jones's vaccine requirements. And that was a big thing with Amari Cooper during that period of time, as far as would he comply. And as far as we know, as far as we've heard this entire time, it's never had anything to do with Mike McCarthy. So again, this is one of those things is, why wait until the guy is fired? to start having these dialogues? Why wait until the guy is fired to ever reveal any bit of this information? It seems disingenuous, and it almost seems like a hit job commissioned by Jerry Jones. This is what it seems like to me, just listening to this from afar and wondering the obvious questions. Why didn't we hear this thing earlier? I just don't see why Mike McCarthy, an offensive coach, I don't see why he would go out of his way to get Amari Cooper off of the Cowboys without having an actual viable replacement ready and lined up. And there's no way. And look, Mike McCarthy deserves to be out of Dallas, but he damn sure deserves to be out of Dallas if he really looked at Amari Cooper and Michael Gallup and was like, we get what we get out of Amari with Michael Gallup. If he really did that and he's the reason we went with Michael Gallup over Amari Cooper ultimately, then shame on him and good riddance, and I'm glad you're out of Dallas. But again, all of this stuff, it just gives me room for doubt because it seems like a hit job commissioned by Jerry Jones. This whole entire little rant that Bobby Belt went on and the stuff that he talked about seemed like a hit job by Jerry Jones. The only one of these 3 bullet points to me that's actually believable is the fact that Mike McCarthy was walking around looking over his shoulder because Dan Quinn was on the staff for 3 years. Now, what that tells us is, for one, obviously Mike McCarthy didn't really want Dan Quinn there. Maybe that was a move, that was a Jerry Jones move, and that was one of the situations where the head coach doesn't have full denomination as far as how I'm going to pick my staff. Maybe that's one of those situations. But I can absolutely understand it. If you're a leader of men that's insecure in your ability to lead, that's insecure in your value that you bring to an organization, I can absolutely understand being insecure about the presence of someone else that has some potential. See, that's the exact opposite of what a leader should be doing, though. A leader should be empowering those that have the capability of taking over so that the leader that was the original empowerer can then move up themselves and take over a larger responsibility. See, that's how you're supposed to approach leadership. You should never be afraid of anybody surpassing you on the leadership ranks, especially if you're in a position of leadership and you're expected to teach others how to lead, okay? And that's what a head coach should be doing. He should be employing leadership and teaching others how to lead and teaching other people how to do his job. To me, that's just the best leaders, the ones that aren't insecure about anybody else doing what they do because they know what their inherent value is to that system, to that organization. And I could definitely understand if Mike McCarthy felt the way, but to me, that right there would just be a detriment to what he is as a leader, as a coach, because you're not focused. Your mind's not on the game. You guys are too busy trying to make each other look bad. To me, that last bullet point makes this feel like a reverse Wade Phillips and Jason Garrett situation where you have two sides of the ball almost going against each other and trying to compete to make each other look bad. I'm not sure what's true and what's not or any of that, but this was just a very, very interesting clip, an interesting dialogue that was started, and it was very interesting timing. And to be quite frank, unless we get some more solid information and you really flesh out what you were saying here, I can't look at this as anything more than the Jerry Jones hit job. Jerry, leave Mike McCarthy alone. You already blocked that man from getting an interview last week. Leave that man alone. Y'all do not have to try to slander this dude on the way out the door. It's completely unnecessary. Everybody sees you for what you are at this point, Jerry and company. We see y'all for what y'all are in that front office, so trying to make someone else look bad to make yourself look a little bit less worse is not going to work, and we still same old cow.
Calling me, texting me, paging me, asking me, am I still them boys? Y'all usually check on me. Listen. I'm still them boys. Hey! Woo! Oh, shut up, my boy. Hey! I'm still them boys.